All boys did a good job on the running time. Boys played well.
ಯಾರಮ್ಮ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಿಂಗು?
ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ನಾಯ್ಕ್. A for acting, Elkotor.
That much stupid they'll be, but they'll have so much confidence. That was the main inspiration for. They know the answer. They keep arguing that they know the answer. For example, the answer would be like, what is 2 into 2? They might answer Jamaica. My Warden didn't have a car. I could only afford a cake.
And also the second love track. Second love track is real life experience.
Hello everyone, you're watching SoSouth. So today I'll tell you a story on 21st July. 3 films released in Karnataka. One was Oppenheimer, one was Barbie, and the third one was Hostel Hudugaru Bekagidare. And the third one is definitely the best one out of the lot. This is what my opinion is and most of Karnataka's opinion is. So today we are here with the whole gang of Hostel Hudugaru Bekagidare. We are here, we have the director Nitin Krishnamurthy, cinematography by Arvind Kashyap, Warden sir, Mr. Manjunath Nayaka, and the lead Ajit, the director in the film, that is Pradeep. Also we have the whole team, all of the boys, the cool boys who made this film what it is actually. First question, yes sir. Prajwal. Yeah, sorry. Boy mistake, Prajwal. Okay. First up, sir, in all the interviews, all the behind the scenes and in the movie as well, I've noticed one thing, you don't laugh. Why?
Make people laugh.
Were you making the people laugh while directing, or were you harsh on them? What was your role on the set?
Upon, maybe. I don't know. Probably the BTS guy must have had some issues with me and he just shot me when I was angry. No, there's a lot of stress usually while handling a chaos of 500 people. So you don't get that time to relax and laugh probably.
So what do you have to say, all the boys? How was he on the set, your director?
Still have part 2, so be careful. Regarding that also, but he never lost his cool.
Okay, so sir, I watched the movie. I really liked it, but where did the idea start? Like Hostel Hudugaru Bekagidare, what was the initial one line? Like from where it started?
Initial one line was that 500 people know one secret inside a hostel, and how will they manage to hold it? That was the single line thought. So I extended it after that.
Okay, so how much time it took for you to get to the entire screenplay process? And
Came very organically. Had a lot of stories in me that I wanted to tell. So a lot of stories are in this movie as well. And I finished the screenplay in about 6 weeks. I wanted to do another film before this. The budget of that film was too huge, and lockdown came at that point. I thought I'll do a smaller film, but the smaller film was Hostel Hudugaru, and the budget increased more than what I had planned for that film.
Wait, this was written only in 6 weeks?
This was written in 6 weeks, as in the screenplay. But a lot of things, dialogues and few twists and turns have been improvised in the shoot and in edit also. So we didn't have a climax. We'd never shot a climax until we watched the entire movie in one flow. After that only I wrote the climax.
as you, as the captain of the ship, who was the first one who boarded the ship?
We have auditioned a lot of people for this, around like 6,000 to 7,000 people roughly. And we chose around like 120, 130 people in that who might have a dialogue. And a lot of them, which we thought won't fit the role exactly, we still made them a part of the movie. And getting all this talented bunch was a big add-on, because the film is, apart from all the technical thing and screenplay, the performances speak for itself. Like the team is extremely talented, and they had one challenge even before the day of shoot, that nobody knew which role they'll be playing. So they were prepared for any role that will come. We, as a team, we were observing whose behavior might suit which role also. So the basic human behavior and gestures also matter for a role, I feel. I mean, contrary to that is an actor should be able to perform anything. But here we treated it a little different, that their personal behaviors, like how they would actually believe, their sense of humor, their how they will handle a situation, all of that came into place.
A big thing about this film is the cinematography in it, and that's come out really well, and it is very unique too. So, while coming up with the story, why did you choose this particular style, the guerrilla style of cinematography?
If you have watched the movie, you will know that's how it is written. This movie is supposed to be shot by someone who is inside the story. So naturally, we had to make it look that way. We had to, draw a balance between the movie being cinematic and realistic at the same time. So the first intention of us was to make it look like it was shot by someone who doesn't know filmmaking. So that's how we have tried to treat it. Apart from the first 20 minutes, rest of the movie is where one person is shooting around. So that character is also part of the story, and he's someone who's an aspiring filmmaker. So this movie had to look like that guy is shooting. So that's the reason, because of the story, we decided to shoot like that.
Was it a challenge? How tough was it?
It was very tough. It was unlike anything I've done before. And initially, we had no clue of how much balance, to draw between it being good and it being realistic. So we always had doubts. Even on the day before release, we were not very sure how the audience would take this, because it was something which was new for us as well. But we're really happy that audience are liking it and it's getting them into the movie. So this is one leap of faith we took, where we were satisfied with what was happening, and we thought hopefully the audience will like it as well.
Was the rehearsal process also for the camera work?
Yeah, unlike other movies I've shot, in this I had to literally know every dialogue. And while shooting most of the scenes, we would do single takes, and single takes with movement. So if we had 12 hours, we would spend 8 hours on rehearsals and 4 hours on shooting, for example. So all of us had to know exactly at what point who would say the dialogue from where, and who the camera should be on. That was a big task. That's why we did a lot of rehearsals, and there were my dialogues as well in between, and I had to interact. So it was a completely new process, but all of us had a lot of fun doing it. And I think after this movie, I've learned something new which I've never known before.
So, Warden sir, how did you prepare for this character when you know the entire plot? Even though there are so many people, the story is about you, around you. So, how did you prepare for this character?
First of all, I was worried I could make it or not like that. But when I went through with the director, we discussed, the director discussed with me along with the script and all. So I was bit of, this is the first time experience for my first movie. So like that, I took some time to grasp everything, whatever is happening around me or like the script. So it took a lot of time to get in, and then director, he guided me in every single step, and even Prajal also and Arvind also. So I took it as
Okay, so director gave you all the
he
inputs.
guided me in every step.
Okay.
But that character is so interesting.
Exactly.
Because,
Like what you brought to the table is.
yeah,
Yeah, boy.
for most of the film, he was this.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, guys. Especially that one scene, sir. I remember. You'll come out of the dustbin. I'm like, specs, and you go down. Oh, that was really brilliant.
Thank you.
Just the equation between Ajit and the warden, that
him trying to sir. that dynamic was really good. And also, sir, like why this whole warden character was written that way? Any personal frustration from your college days there?
No.
I have to show it on screen.
one day I will push him out of the dustbin, and from the first floor I'll dump him down. Something
I
like
wish,
that.
but that was not the reason. Usually, if there is a villain inside a hostel, that should be the warden. For warden, the students who are hostelites are the villain. But there is always a very love-hate relationship with the warden. I'm sure, like now, I miss my warden a lot. He actually guided us a lot of things. Same way, you start to hate him initially, but even in the movie, by the end, you actually love him. The way he transforms and the way he helps people. And
So I also wanted to know how many of you actually had a hostel life. Oh, how many of you? Please raise your hands. Okay, very few. Then how the other people prepared for the role? Like how it feels? Can we please?
That was the best part. Like most of us did not had the previous experience of staying in the hostel, so we were made to stay in the hostel rooms. So and just coming out of it, we were acting, and once there is a cut, we used to get in and get into our rooms. So that gave us that authentic feel of experiencing the hostel life, and that helped us to act. For most of us, since we were not in hostel, so yeah, that helped.
Much so that as soon as he sees hostel room, he removes shirt now. So he's gotten into the character.
So, Prajwal, about your character in the film, do you work closely while the scripting was also going on? So, did you have an idea that you were going to be playing this role, or?
Precisely, I was not knowing that till the last day of, I mean, the next day is the shoot. I was not sure that I'm even acting in the movie. So it was just, I was part of the auditioning process, other creative process. No character were fixed actually till the end of the day. So we used to just rehearsals, all the roles, all different roles. We used to just rehearsals. At the end, whatever he felt, whoever suits to that character, he assigned the roles. So in that way, he felt that I might suit Ajit, and I pulled it.
When it comes to the camera work, what all you had to unlearn to make this movie the way it is from your previous experience?
So first and foremost thing was beautification. You try to make a frame look good. You try to light up. Here we never had the space to light up. We had to do a general lighting. Like if you're shooting a scene in one room, we couldn't limit our lights to one room. We had to light the entire floor, and we had to light the entire hostel in so many cases. So the point lighting was something we could never do in this film, because if you see, there's camera movement throughout. And second thing is, in all the movies I've done till now, I've never used zoom. Zoom is one thing which I very rarely use, and I don't like using. But in this, every shot had the zoom in, zoom out effect. So that I had to go against my conscience to get into that mode. And the jerkiness and the basic shabbiness of it was something which was initially difficult to get, but somehow once we started getting involved in the story, that felt right to do. Initially, I was also skeptical if this is the way to go. We had so many discussions about if we should get a gimbal or if there's something else, but then somehow this felt right. And as and when we were shooting it, camera became another character. So it just took things forward.
While we are talking about camera work, in Kannada cinema, we had 6 minus 5 is equal to 2 also, which had a similar kind of work. Was that any sort of inspiration? Was that a reference point?
I mean, in this movie, there are a blend of genres. The first 15 minutes, you get a different genre. 6 minus 5, they've been very loyal to found footage genre. But here, we've staged cinema verite. We've not exactly done 6 minus 5. 6 minus 5 is pure found footage.
And also, if you see 6 minus 5, it's very clean. Even though it is found footage, the shots are neat and clean. Here, that's something we couldn't do. This was literally like a war zone. And there's so many things happening. We had to treat it that way. We couldn't keep the shots clean. So, a lot of energy had to come in from the camera point of view as well. So, camera added to the chaos.
Talking about lines, and lines play a very crucial role, especially in movies like this where it's all jokes. So how did you write these lines? Like all the dialogues of the movie, was it very much improvised on the scene, or you had a dialogue draft?
We had a dialogue draft, but then see, what I used to do is the previous day, the day before the shoot, every day, we used to sit and write, and used to make additional pointers and improvise it a lot. And and in the dubbing, I think I have 84 pages script of just dubbing, which is non-lip, where you don't see the lip, right? That's non-lip dialogues. I think I have to credit that to Srivatsa and Tejas, because they did a lot of work for that. Very, very funny one-liners. If I give an idea, they used to come up with a lot of funny one-liners. So it's not a bound thing. The entire film is not at all a bound thing. So it kept on progressing, transforming as and when. So whatever film that you have seen, what he's trying to make over there, our film was also 20% like that. I mean, we don't know what is going to happen next. I mean, it kept on adapting also.
While the dialogues are one thing, even the characters in the film, because usually when we see in a normal cinema, it's the lead characters and then the supporting characters are just that around these built around these characters. But here, every character have their own traits. Everybody's character traits are built separately. Everyone has their own identity in it. So, and you say you just wrote it in like 6 weeks or something. How was that?
uh, Writing characters for me comes very organically because I observe a lot. I observe people a lot. I can read between lines. I can understand what kind of people. I understand people's weaknesses from my point of view. So the number of people I've mingled with, I've been with all my life. So, and the most of the characters here are very characters that you can see in day-to-day lives. You just have to write it down. That's it. That's one thing.
Let's look at the frames again later, but when it comes to dialogues, especially in scenes where there is a whole discussion about communities of Karnataka or the whole Xavier track, like, there is slight scope of controversy where, people might misread it. So how careful were you, and how careful were the actors to act those scenes and, try to keep it just humor, not something that might offend somebody's feelings? How was that?
No, we are very cautious and sensitive about that because the caste thing, that whatever they say, we have not made fun of any caste. We've just taken the names. The whole point of that was the irony that there is a dead body there, and people are still talking about caste. I mean, they forgot the gravity of the situation, and suddenly the urge to talk about your caste, the urge of your identity comes up. That was one thing I wanted to highlight. And Xavier's role, whatever fun, whatever all other characters make fun of him, if you've noticed or not, the end, because of his holy water, is where the climax changes, but not how he thinks is. He thinks in a different way. Like, he thinks he actually, the miracle happened because of that. He's in a blind spot for a while, so he thinks the miracle happened because of that. But the whole thing, the whole water coming out of that jet, is because of the thing. So there is a beautiful round off to his characters.
The way there are two love tracks in the movie, but they're very unconventional when you look at, unless like the boys side core inside, not the sugar coated one. In general, at least one cliche love story will be there in every boys hostel, right? But you didn't go towards any of those. Like, do you have anything? No, was it a decided thought that, I will not go conventional love story cliche shit and all. I will decide and, make this Smita track and that whole, cupboard girl track. Like, why was that love story dealt that way?
See, there are two things. One, if you think before writing that I'll not go conventional, that is very wrong. You just have to write what you want to write. If it is conventional or not, the audience will decide. How much ever we think that, okay, we're writing something different, people have seen this million times. But here in this hostel, there is no way that conversation of love can happen, because they're not in the same geography and they're not meeting tomorrow. We just have one night. And in the one night, in that chaos, there could have been another million love stories that he couldn't capture. Whatever this camera or another camera or the editor, whatever footages the editor has got, those are the only love stories. I'm sure in a different place, in the same hostel, if there is another guy who's having a camera, there could have been another 10 murders that we have not seen. So,
If like he said, if you have observed, if you've seen the movie, when Nikki follows them to Jeannie's room, there's a love story going on in the background. There's one guy speaking on the phone to his girlfriend. So that is another love story which is happening. If you observe, like, that's why repeated view actually adds on layers to this. And there are so many conversations in the background where he's talking to his girlfriend. He says, "Chini yaro bandru, neene cut mad amel martini." Things like that are happening in the background.
All these things have been dealt with very carefully. For example, the whole Smita angle, where there's two boys who are apparently, from her side, they are her best friends while they are still hitting on her.
yeah, and they think that she
She is.
just for
Line
casual
kodta
reasons,
idare.
yeah.
So that is happening. So while, again, carefully, as soon as this whole thing breaks, there are characters who are defending her, one-linerly character defined Madbirtira and all of that. So all these controversial matters have been dealt with carefully. Was that a conscious choice?
Dealt with morals, I think, not consciously. It was dealt with morals. This is how I've seen men speak a lot of times about women, that just because she's friendly, they might either stupidly assume that she's loving him, or if she dismisses them, they may start to hate her. The girl boy friendship is always a thin line for a lot of us, so we don't know. So there I really wanted to tell, it's not like a message thing, but there are people who will say that, and there are people who will also say that you cannot define a character of woman in three dots. So in three dots is a very small thing and a very cheap thing that we can determine. So imagine what all they can assume of.
So first of all, you're mixing genres here. Like you're not being loyal to one genre, you're trying different genres. And it's a very comedy movie with so many characters. So everybody are cracking jokes, everybody has their own thing which is being captured with the camera. So how was it on the edit table? And also you're bringing the whole social media element to it, you know, all the graphics and all of that. So getting everything right and, you know, like hitting that right mark which the movie actually did. How difficult was it on the edit table to get everything in one place?
The edit has in this movie has two places. One is the first 15 minutes and the rest 2 hours, whatever. The first 15 minutes was very uh, calculated, as in it was planned so precisely that every transition, everything has to be done in this. The rest of the movie we are planned, but we didn't stick completely. We were not like a rule book, but the first 15 minutes had a rule book. So all the edits that happened in the first 15 minutes was pre-planned, and here in the second part one of the film, we knew that we've taken all of the scenes in single shot, but we have not used them. Few of them we've used in a single shot, and the others we have shot twice for a close-up inserts and all. So we wanted to make sure that we'll be loyal to that genre, and even if we are using a close-up shot, it should always be logically right. So that way, our editor Suri, I mean, he had a huge task to not, miss out any logic. That was there, and one more thing where an editor plays a big role is we always shoot a lot of footage and we want everything. So usually in Hollywood or Bollywood, there is a script. Doctors like they look at a script and say we can chop off this because it won't connect. Here, our what do you say? Poor man's script. So a supervisor will always be an editor. He will say this doesn't work. I mean, you might have shot this, you might have spent crores, but this doesn't work. So he had a lot of input that way to give.
Okay, so is there any one scene where, you know, it, even though it's one shot, it took so many takes for you to get that scene right? Which is
Almost all scenes. There is not a single scene in this where we have okayed the shot under 5 takes. Most because it was always improvisation.
And also, as I mean, the film looks chaotic, so I'm just guessing that even shooting was just as chaotic nonetheless. So, were there any injuries or were there any equipment breaks?
There were no equipment breaks, but there was one injury. Nitin tore his ligament on his shoulder during shoot. That was because of chaos only.
only Genie got injured.
Only Genie got injured.
Yeah, with the actors, especially you both, whose one-liners work brilliantly, doing it again and getting that comedy on point, like getting that humor sense on point. How was it for you people?
Actually, as Sir told, it's my character only. I behave same way, so it's easy for me. While talking to people, even punch same way. I'll deliver dialogues. If anyone talks something nonsense, I'll punch. Low. So it was easy for me to act.
Also, Mukesh was the fish out of the bowl among the whole lot because he is the only one who wasn't from Karnataka, I think,
This is
or doesn't know Kannada.
understanding because it's in English.
Yeah.
No, I
So-
actually means a little compared to when the shoot started. Now I actually understand most of it. I can grasp means what the person is saying. But when the shoot started, it was a total bouncer. Means at Arvind sir told me literally there was some scenes which I hadn't been even told. Means Nitin sir used to explain scene once in Kannada and one for me in Hindi. Every scene I was there, and they used to communicate. In some scenes there he purposely left it out. He didn't tell me, and the expression which you see on the screen also, it was really, I was clueless means what's happening and what's going on. And he said, okay, I'm also confused. Okay, means sir, I don't know what is happening. So that's the kind of naturality brought us from every character which he gave.
So you were the national representation in the film.
So he was the one guy who imposed, to be honest.
Character Manja is very close to heart, not only for me, for audience also, because there will be a guy in every gang like Manja. When some kirik will happen, means the first he will only come. Same like that only he will escape. Like that in every gang that worked more. Every gang they in for all characters the audience involved that behavior. I think that worked more.
No, something that you used in the movie which actually happened to you, like
Yeah,
something
so
funny.
the one thing where now Baduvru, when they say we're poor, that is something I've gone through all my life. One is like when you talk to any person as a 90s kid, I remember one guy used to say in my college that anything you ask, "Bhai bada pana badu na badu." We were practicing for March First once. I asked him to lift his leg a little higher. I bada pana badu. Not just that is like a very no nonsense defense mechanism for us.
And also the second love track is his real life experience.
Which is the second one?
Omni one.
Oh, you did you do something like that in real life? No.
They didn't have a car. I would have done it.
It was the warden's car though. So
My warden didn't have a car. I could only afford a cake.
Well, while talking about character, my favorite character honestly is Echo in the film. I was going bonkers whenever he was giving the late reaction. So that group of Echo, Genie and Swami, where did you get the inspiration for that from? Is that personal too?
It's not personal at all. We have actually, usually people who dope, I mean, they're not like this. I'd like to apologize if I've offended any clan, but the Echo character is, but the whole idea of those three is brotherhood. I mean, the way they behave so stupidly, but with so much confidence. That I've seen in a lot of people, probably even me. They're so stupid, but they're so confident of doing something, and also innocent. They can burn somebody with innocence.
Okay. And on the opposing side, it was these three, and on the other side there was the alcoholic gang. And one scene actually established that there is a clear difference between the two. So how did that come? Was that real? Was that something that
I
happened in
think
real
it
life?
happens in every gang, like the smokers and the drunkards. I think that keeps happening. That which is better, like which is bad. So there is always that fight
Cricket,
between
football,
things like that.
any two opposing gangs, they will have opposing views.
No, but only one guy in the entire hostel who's the nerd guy. Like rest of them are all now the fight is different. Alcohol versus this, not education versus just enjoy. So why only one guy that you decide who's nerd, who's exam?
We didn't want to show a lot of nerds, and they don't interest me. Probably they could have been a lot of nerds, and he didn't shoot them.
They're probably studying inside the rooms.
Yeah.
Never got to see
Nothing interesting.
If you have noticed the production design of this movie, this thing was done by our designers, Sunil Shastri. So if you watch the movie without dialogue, because you've been mentioning
We
about
want to
dialogues,
watch it again just to watch everything, all of
yes,
this.
you have to
notice
watch it
all these
mute
things.
once, and every scene that you watch, you can laugh without subtitles, without music, without dialogues, because there's so many funny one-liners, so many images that has been created with so much detail.
Okay, so with your character, from start till the end, you are there. So at one point, legit, you are my favorite character because I felt so many emotions. I saw that director who wants to make a movie. I saw you clueless, oh my god, what is happening, that chaos handling person. At one point when it got revealed, when you were telling, right, that it's a movie, I got, Maro Resko, that kind of frustration. So actually your character communicated everything. All like, you were brilliant with your performance. So how was it for you with your preparation to get all of that out?
So the basic premise itself was candid. So I was not supposed to act. I was not supposed to overdo it, or I was not supposed to underdo it also, because it was a blend of cinematic expression and natural expression. So entire energy was while preparing the character, while preparing for a scene, uh, I used to behavior brings certain subtle body language and certain subtle expressions which won't happen while we are acting. So I am mostly concentrated on behaving, reacting to the situations.
What was like out of like there are good moments, enjoyment moments, happy moments. Because it's a very chaotic kind of presentation movie, is there any frustration moment for you, for actually everybody, that what was the most frustrating moment in the filmmaking, like the entire process?
The team is big, there's so much strength, but they'll also find it problems that you'll have to address with all of them. So that frustration be there. That is, you can't help about it. It's the job.
Any funny incident that happened, like, that frustrated anybody on the sets of the movie?
So so Manjunath, I remember one thing that he asked me a lot of, we have taken a lot of takes, right? The dustbin scene, somebody mentioned the dustbin scene, right? That was shot for 2 days. That's a 40-second scene, 40-50 second scene. One, he had an operation and he couldn't sit properly, and he had to get fit inside that dustbin, and it was very dirty, very shabby, the dustbin was. And I think he sat there for like 5 hours, but he was not able to get the lines according to how I wanted. He had got the lines, but the emotion was not coming. I also got angry that day, and I just walked off. Seems he's taken a shower like in Hollywood movies where they get inside a shower and they cry. He's taken a bucket and and we did that scene again next time, and he delivered it
Got it.
brilliantly. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the cameos in the film. Was that there from the start, or was that something that they hopped on the ferry once it started?
No, we wanted few cameos very clearly, but it was not exactly that. Even before that, we had all these people in mind. But as and when we wrote, like organically, the script progress, we thought, for example, seniors, like I play a senior in this, and if there's another senior who's coming, the alumni who comes outside into the hostel, even if he's a newcomer, is a very fresh face, he won't add on much. So we wanted some celeb, nice brief appearance for a cameo. That is when Rishab sir, Pawan sir, and Shine. I'm not sure if you have seen Shine Shetty inside the film.
We did.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
right. It was very
We
small.
did. We saw him in the black and white frame
Yeah,
from the
breaking the
CCTV.
frame.
Diganth sir agreed to do the editor. That really worked out well. And Ramya ma'am's starting cameo. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about Ramya a little more. So, what was that all about?
So one, we wanted a lady superstar to play that role. The reason is because in the first scene itself we show that this is how our college is. The fantasy part. This is how our college is. Like even Ramya will come and do teach mathematics. So usually we associate glam to just heroines to glam, but here even the most glamorous women can come and teach maths. That is how we wanted, and we had no other person in our head while writing that role, and it was clearly for her.
And all the issues, have that been sorted?
I think it will get sorted very soon.
Okay, another beautiful thing about the movie is music. It was brilliantly done, especially the protest song is so fresh. Like everything about that song is fresh. The way that it was shot, the edit pattern and music. So, like, how was it working with?
Mr. Ajnish. So Aju sir, one thing in this movie, as we thought when he watched the movie after all the dubbing, he said, "There's literally no scope for music here." So when you have to play music, you have to have a montage, slow motion, where you will elevate the music. But he didn't have that here. But he took that as a challenge, and if you have observed, most of the film has idioms. So that is how we managed to compensate. But he's done a brilliant work. I think. I mean, uh, whatever we thought, whatever we had shot, was in one point of view. When he added music, I think there are a lot of scenes when we never thought it could have, the audience could feel this way. For example, there's one scene when Warden is lying down and somebody's shouting in that this guy is useless, he does nothing. If you have seen, there's a very subtle thing where he places his hand on the wall, and it's a game room, and somebody's written winner or loser because it's a game room, and he actually places his hand exactly there while somebody's scolding him. That we thought will do make it a funny music, but Ajay sir had given an emotional music for that, and it worked out pretty well. And as for the songs, I think after so many versions, we've got the protest song and the energy that is filled, and the amazing choreography by Mr. Bhushan, and the crowd, the rain, and the VFX. All of this, I think, it looked very grand.
And also with that also, I was actually thinking, like we as a team, now that we are sitting, can we just come up with some 2-minute idea just right now and just do something where we are also part of, directed by Nitin.
This whole thing was what we did today.
No, 2 minutes more to that, can we do it? Just some idea that you can think and we can contribute some.
Yeah.